Is your pool heater not working, not heating any water? Here's a couple things you can look for to figure out the issue. First thing you want to do is make sure that your pump is running and pushing water through the heater. Now, make sure your pump is running at a high enough rate. It needs to be running medium speed or high speed. Your pump speed settings and control will be on your pool panel. If you have a smart automation, it will look something like this. If you have a single speed timer, then it will be a little more simple than that. But what you want to make sure is that the pump is turning on and running at high speed. Now, if you have automation, this whole process is quite simple. There will be a mode button on the panel, and all you have to do is put the panel into a spa mode. Once you put the panel into a spa mode, three things will happen. Your pump will turn on, your valves will churn, so that way we're circulating spa water only and heating up only the jacuzzi, and your heater will fire up. That's with automation. If you don't have automation panel and automation system on your pool setup, then all of this will have to be done manually. You would have to turn on the pump, make sure the pump is pushing water through the filter and through the heater. Then you'll have to set the valves for spa mode, and you will have to turn on your heater and set the desired temperature. One thing to look for is make sure that the heater is getting proper gas flow. There will be a valve that could be turned off or opened. Make sure that the gas line valve is open, so that way there's gas flow and proper gas line is supplied to the heater. Valves could look a little differently. For example, this one looks like this, and obviously this will be in a closed position. This would be in the open position. Some of them look a little bit different and the handle is not as big, but pretty much most of the times universal settings are this is closed, this is open. Heaters are protected from the manufacturer, and the way they're protected is that there's quite a bit of sensors inside of them, and one of the sensor is a flow sensor. If the pump is not pushing enough water through the heater to avoid heater overheating and causing damage, there's a flow sensor. So make sure your pump is running high speed, not low speed, but high speed. That way the sensor is fully closed and heater fires up. If the heater and the flow sensor on the heater senses that there's not enough gallons per minute, meaning not enough flow going through the heater, it will not fire up. People ask us all the time, how do we reset our pool heater? But resetting a pool heater is not really a solution, and that's not really a thing. Heaters typically last about 15 to 20 years. Once they go old, very high chance that some of the sensors and some of the components, internal components, needs to be replaced or swapped. At that point, it might make more sense to buy a new heater and invest into a new heater rather than try to fix the existing one. If your heater is not firing up, it's most likely that some components or sensors went bad, or the heater just already had its life and it's time to replace it. So what are the signs that the heater is going bad? Well, two things come in mind. One, if the heater is leaking, and we're not talking about unions and the pipes, but actually inside, if the manifold or the heat exchanger, it's all corroded and leaking, and you see a bunch of water under the heater or coming up from under the heater, then most likely there's major components that went bad, will have to be replaced, and at that point, it might be worth it to get a new heater. Another big giveaway and a sign that the heater is going out is when you turn it on and it starts to rattle and make a lot of noise. That means internal components, heat exchanger, or possibly some sensors, they will need to be replaced and they are going out. You might have a case where your heater turns on and it starts heating water, but it doesn't heat the water to the set desired temperature. In that case, there's probably an issue with one of the sensors. The sensor went bad and it's thinking that the water temperature has reached 104 or 102 or whatever you have set it to, but the sensor is misreading the temperature. A lot of people reach out to us and tell us, hey, after the rain, my pool heater has stopped working. Well, rain can really cause no damage to the heater unless the rainwater got into electrical of the heater and possibly has stripped the breaker or caused some kind of electrical damage to the heater. Then the heater is not getting electrical supply, so it won't spark and it won't fire up. So at this point, just do basic troubleshooting, check your breaker, make sure there's electrical supply and the proper power going to your heater. Generally speaking, pool heater life expectancy and lifespan is about 15 to 20 years. Now, if you call most of the companies, the first thing they're gonna ask you is, well, how old is your heater? And if it's about 15 to 20 years old, then most likely at that point, it's not worth putting in more money, more labor, and more components into this heater and replacing those things. At that point, maybe it's worth it just to invest the money, take the money and put it towards a new heater. Now, there's many cases where the heater is not that old, but yet it stops working, firing up, and heating your pool water. Now, if your heater is under 15 years old, it's definitely worth possibly to troubleshoot the heater. Heaters are one of the more complicated pieces of pool equipment, and troubleshoot that can definitely be a challenge. Taking apart the heater and troubleshooting all these sensors could be a whole lot. I would definitely recommend calling out a pool professional to come and troubleshoot this for you. If your pool heater is not working or not heating any water, typical repair costs could be between a couple $100s to a couple thousands. If it's a simple sensor replacement or a small part, then you're looking most likely in a couple $100 range for a service call and a repair diagnostics fee. Now, if it's a more complicated repair and a bigger part that needs to be replaced, then you're running into thousands. And then at that point, maybe it makes more sense just to replace the whole thing and install a new heater. Here at H2O Pool Care, we service, repair, and install heaters all the time. We service local neighborhoods, Roseville, California, and the greater Sacramento area. So if you have a pool heater need, give us a call.